Good evening, everybody, and welcome to WCFL DolFans Talk. I hope everyone's having a wonderful week. It's hump day. You know what that means? Not a damn thing. We still got to work and do all this wonderful stuff. But right now, we're going to go ahead and bring on the middle-aged man, our co-host, Mr. John O'Hanlon.
What's
How
up,
you doing, John?
What's up, Papa Paul? How are you, brother? How's everybody out there? I just like to start off by saying prayers for everybody down in Florida. All that wind and rain and everything they're getting in certain spots are pretty dangerous. So everybody that's down there, take care of yourselves, be smart, don't go out and stay home.
Yep. That's mostly on the East Coast and the Southeast in Miami area where we have a lot of our Finn family at and stuff. Next, we have Mr. Winters coming up along with a special guest.
What's going on, y'all? What's going on, brothers? What's going on? I'm here with our special guest, Mr. Russell Hopman, up here in Fall Rivers, Massachusetts. What's going on? Tell me about yourself, Russ.
Hey, what's up, fellas? How you guys doing, man?
Good.
Russ?
Nice
How
to
are
see you,
brother?
Russell.
It's always a pleasure. Another year discussing our beloved Finns. You know how that go.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, never ending craziness.
Well, like I was telling Saul, people always say, Russell, are you a fan of the Dolphins? I tell them I'm not a fan. A fan only blows when it's hot.
Yep,
I'm a follower. We live and die this stuff,
Yes, we do. We are definitely strong, diehard followers.
It's funny too because like each person that you speak with, and I mean I've come in contact with people from all over, and everybody's experiences on how they became a follower of the Dolphins is different.
Well, it's funny you say that because we have a local Italian restaurant here, and I can't remember who he knows several of the old school players. When I say several old school, I'm talking 70s, early 80s and stuff. Well, his name, he used to be down in Miami, but he has a restaurant up here now. He goes by Papa Joe.
Mm-hmm.
That's his restaurant up here. And I was talking to him because he was telling me all about it and stuff. He told me next time I see him, tell him he said hi and stuff. They'll know who I'm talking about. But I'm going to get with him and see about being one of our sponsors for our DCC team as well. So,
it's interesting, Paul. See that you speaking about the old Dolphin players and stuff. I became a fan as a 6-year-old in August of 1970.
Right underneath me. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I became a fan in August of 1970 with my dad, who was a big Minnesota Vikings fan. We were going to a Shell gas station. That's going to be like a blast from the past. And we were getting a full tank of gas. And at the time, they were offering a set of drinking glasses, but you didn't know the drinking glasses because the box didn't have the team insignia on it. So when I opened up the box when I got home, it was a glass. It was the Dolphins. So I was telling my dad, "Oh, this team, are they good?" And my father, being a Vikings fan, "Oh no, they're terrible. You don't like that team. Like the Vikings, like Dad." So here we go with the old school. I got a TV guide, and it was August of 1970, and the preseason at the time was like 6 to 8 games of preseason football. So I tried to see if the Dolphins were actually coming on. They happened to be on highlights, and I saw the colors, and I liked the colors. So I got into that. We ended up going the season opener in September of 1970 against the Boston Patriots at Nickerson Field at BU.
Hey, Tom. Sorry about that. A lot of shit going on around this house.
No problem.
What's up, Tom?
What's up,
What up,
Tom?
everybody? How's everybody doing?
Good.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
You're not interrupting. You're good.
You're good. And it was funny, like I said, Paul, everybody's fan experiences are different, you know. And I was telling Saul earlier, you can't have four walls without a foundation. And a lot of Dolphin fans that I've come in contact with, because most of our fan base are younger, obviously, and they know the four main topics. They know this undefeated season. They know Dan Marino's accomplishments. They know Don Shula, and then they know, depending on who they may be, why Ricky Williams went through the things he did, or they know Jason Taylor, they know Zach Thomas. And I was telling Saul that it's weird for me because I remember like stuff out of the blue sometimes. Like I was telling Saul earlier, I was sitting in my living room and the name Vince Heflin just popped in my head. And I said to Saul, do you know who Vince Heflin is? And Saul said, no. Do any of you guys know who Vince Heflin was?
I don't remember him.
Nope.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And Vince Heflin was a special teams guy the year that the Dolphins lost the Super Bowl to San Francisco. He had recovered a fumble after Dan Marino had a 3-and-out. And then when he recovered a fumble on a San Francisco punt, Marino threw an interception on the next play. I don't know why that name popped in my head, but that's the thing. Lots of times we always, you know, of course, the present team, very athletic, talented. I had told Paul last August, he was like, what do you think the Dolphins are going to do? And I told him 10-6 and 1 and done. He started laughing at me. And he said, why did you say that, Russell? And I said, a lot of times you can see just how the makeup of a team is. And I had told him we always fade in December. And then we start off like hot, like a house on fire, which we did. All I remember speaking with fans were, oh, we beat the Broncos 70-20, and that's all people said. But if you realize after that game, we only scored over 35 one other game, and that was against the Commanders. So people seem to forget injuries and your play and the schedule, and there's so many things that can trip your team up. So we went from an 8-2 team at the 10-game mark to finishing 10-6.
Yeah.
11-6.
Well, 11-6. I mean, excuse me.
Yeah. It was. We were plagued with injuries so bad last year.
Yep. Well, you figure at the tail end of our season, we signed 4 guys off the street just to have a decent enough pass rush, which never happened against the Chiefs, which everybody should have expected. And then certain points of the year, we lost key guys. We lost Devin A-Chain for a little bit of time. We lost Mostert for a period. We lost Waddle for a period. We lost Tyreek Hill for a period. Our offensive line was in disarray from week 7 on. I mean, you know, I think as fans, like I said, I'm not a fan because a fan only blows when it's hot. But I think, you know, because my uncle, the late Clarence Brooks, was a defensive line coach. And it seemed like those Dolphin teams of the mid-90s, when Dave Wanstead was the coach, where they were more physical than they are now. I mean, because the league's changed, obviously, because it's more pass happy, you know, obviously for, you know, television and, you know, the offense sells now. The Dolphins' physicality, I mean, you just look at the teams they had back then with their offensive line. They had Jamie Nails and Roy Foster, and then you had Kevin Donnelly, and you had Tim Ruddy, and they had Lamar Smith running the ball. That was the last playoff win, actually, because I was at that game against Indianapolis where they won in overtime. They were physical. We have a good running game, but we're more of a finesse team. Until we decide as an organization to be more physical, it's going to be the same result. And like I was telling Saul earlier, I love the Dolphins just like all of you. We all have our different, you know, likes and dislikes. And I was telling Saul earlier, it's like comparing someone who likes chocolate ice cream who's like strawberry ice cream. You may like chocolate better than he likes strawberry. But if you realize the deficiencies that our team has and be honest about it, I don't sit every summer going, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl. Because the realism sets in. We are a talented team, don't get me wrong. But the problem with our team is that we mortgaged our future for the present. You know how many teams buy championships and don't ever see a championship? It's like kicking the can down the road with our salary. Oh yeah, we can say we paid this one, we can say we paid that one, but just think of previous free agencies. Just think out of the top of your head some winning moves that we've done in free agency. Name one of them. Name one of them. I can name 5 that weren't winning.
No.
We signed Ndamukong Suh, bad move. We signed Mike Wallace, bad move. We signed Byron Jones, bad move. The talented players, all of them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything from the talent of these players. But we mortgaged our future for the present, and we didn't win.
Come on, Andy.
And don't think I don't hear it from here, because I live here. And I hear, oh, well, we didn't have this one, and that one, and we won 6 Super Bowls. I won't even mention the team here in Massachusetts because I don't like to. Tonight, there have been a retirement Hall of Fame session at that stadium for a certain number 12, which I won't mention. And don't think, so I will tell you, there's a supermarket less than 3 minutes from my house. This woman drives me crazy.
That's bad.
Every single time I go in there, regardless of what time of the season it is, she has something to say about the Dolphins, no Super Bowls, and 6 titles, and blah, 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 blah. But you know, the funny thing is, like I said, we're all fans, and every season's an optimistic season. But if you look at the last maybe 5 teams that have actually won Super Bowls, they've all been physical teams. Granted, I mean, Kansas City has Mahomes, but they're physical when they need to be. They run the ball. The Rams won the Super Bowl. They were physical. And I'm not saying like the Dolphins have to change their whole perception of how they're going to play, because you obviously play to your strengths. You got Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle, you got A-Chain, you got Mostert, you got the new kid Wright. Super speedy team, but eventually we always find a way. And I don't know, because I mean, I'm not a trainer, but it seems that our team always has soft tissue injuries when late in the season, hamstring, ankle, foot, which is injuries in sport. It's a physical sport. I'm not taking away from any of these great players, but it seems like the more physical teams that run the ball, and like I told Saul, and like I tell anybody who has eyes and can see a football game, if you have to pass on 3rd and inches or run a bubble screen on 3rd and inches, that tells me right there and now that you will never, ever win a Super Bowl, because if you can't pick up 12 inches and you have to throw for 12 inches, your mindset has to change.
Yeah.
Our backfield is way better than Kansas City's backfield. Do you think the Chiefs are going to throw on 3rd and inches when they got Pacheco running? He runs like his head's on fire. He's physical. Most of the teams in our division, Buffalo, the Jets, and New England, their backfields aren't as strong or potent as Miami's. But what it is their mentality is different. You know how many times I've been to Foxborough, and I've said I wouldn't mention it, but physical, and their teams aren't really like essential to, well, they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they're always in games because of the physical nature of the way they play. You know, my uncle who left the Dolphins when Wanstead left, Nick Saban came in, and he brought in his own defensive line coach, which is now the Commanders coach, Dan Quinn. My Uncle Clarence, rest his soul, said the Dolphins are a great team, but they will find a way to get away from what made them great. And they're not physical. When he went to Baltimore, I remember going to the Baltimore Ravens camp because I used to have 2 weeks off in the summer from work, and I would go to Miami every year and go to the Dolphins camp in Davie. When he left, I ended up going to Baltimore for 4 days and then go to Miami for the other 10. And he said to me, you can't wear Dolphin stuff here at the camp, at Baltimore Ravens camp. I went there with an orange Dolphin shirt, orange shorts, white Nikes with aqua. He looked at me crazy. And I can still remember Ray Lewis, Ed Reed looking at me crazy. And then I remember the owner said, hey, you're in the wrong direction. You're supposed to be 1,800 miles the other way. And I said to them, I've been a Dolphin fan since 1970. And they asked me, who are you here to see? I told them my uncle's a coach. And he said, who? I said, Clarence Brooks. And they called him over and they said, that's your nephew? And he said, yep. And their faces were like, oh my God, get him some purple. And the only way I told him I'm going to wear purple is Prince from the Revolution comes and hands me purple.
What's up,
But you
there,
know
Mr.
what I
Paul?
said? What's that?
What's up, Mr. Paul? We had somebody join. What's going on, Mr. Paul?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you. Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. God is good.
I hear you on there. It's good to see you. I remember seeing you. I think it was about almost a year ago. So it's a
Yeah,
pleasure.
it was last September.
Yep.
I'm like Oscar the Grouch. I only pop out the house when it's needed.
Nothing wrong with that. So how's it going, Papa Paul, John, and Tom? How you guys doing?
Good,
Wonderful,
yourself?
wonderful.
Okay. It's a little wet down here, but doing okay.
Yeah, how you doing down there? Everything okay?
Yeah, everything's good.
You got
We're in sort of a area where it's not low, where it's not lowland. You know, where
Okay.
yeah, you're in kind of a good spot.
Well, real quick, I want to read a little something here. Marcus May had a brilliant reason for choosing the Dolphins over other teams. Let's see what it is. This is an underrated move, but one Miami Dolphin fan should still be celebrating. A bit out of nowhere, Jordan Schultz broke the news that Chris Greer and company had come to terms with a one-year deal with veteran safety Marcus May. May was receiving interest from other teams too, but ultimately his heart knew that signing with the Dolphins would be the best decision for him this season. So how did Miami win out? As it turns out, May has a Super Bowl on his mind, and per Schultz, he thinks the Dolphins have that potential to get that done this campaign. Yes, the Dolphins haven't won a playoff game in 24 years, which is something Mike McDaniel was keeping in mind for when he planned some of his team meetings. However, this team is stacked on both sides of the ball, and the belief is they can end that streak next winter. Well, apparently, Marcus May's reason for coming to Miami is he believes we're going to go all the way this year.
Oh yeah.
What's up, Shake Money?
What's
What's
up,
going on,
Shay?
guys? How y'all doing, man?
What's up, Shay?
My man, what's up,
What's
brother?
going on,
Jay?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man.
Yeah. Too blessed to be stressed, right?
You ain't never lied.
Yes, sir.
No, you're right.
Oh, Saul Dolphin Winters wasn't stressed at all today. He was just pissed.
Shit. Yeah. Very much so.
Well, Saul came here to Massachusetts, and I was telling him, because we've been talking about this for a minute. He was like, yeah, my train arrives at 11:15. I said, no problem, because I only live like 20 minutes from Providence. So it went from 11:15 to 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And I just told him keep his head, because, we only can worry about the things you can control.
Well, I'll be on the phone with Amtrak tomorrow, customer service, to be compensated of some sort. Because there's no way a 5-hour trip should take 8 hours.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul.
I think Paul stepped away.
Yeah, their compensation is we apologize for your inconvenience.
Yeah, well, no, they gonna do something, or
Well, I told them, the best thing is hopefully they'll compensate you with a credit or at least an upgrade the next time you travel out here, because you're not getting any cash from these people. You can forget that.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
You got a better chance of passing out fudgicles with Jesus and Satan. That ain't happening.
There you go.
It ain't happening.
Some kind of discount.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Just like, because I told Saul, it's interesting as followers of the Dolphins. I've always listened to, when people say, "Oh, I went to see them against the Jets," or "I went to see them against Buffalo." But the major thing that really bothers me, and I won't say bothers me or upsets me because it really don't, is when I hear people say, "Oh, I went to see them against whoever on the road," which is fine. You do what's best for you. Like I say, if you went to see him in Atlanta, or you went to see him in LA, or you went to see him in Indy, what's best for you is best for you. But for all the years that the team here in Massachusetts has tormented our beloved Finns, all I hear excuses from fans is it's too cold, or all the fans are mean. Well, you think the fans are nice everywhere else too? Like, I'm pretty sure they're not accommodating to Dolphin fans in New Jersey or in Buffalo.
No, the Jets.
Saul,
MetLife sucks. Philly sucks. New England.
yeah. Well,
not as,
but those
New
are
England's not as
your
bad.
rivals. New England is your rival. I don't care what New England's record is. You watch that dumb number 12 for them, wearing that stupid cockeyed Elvis on crack on their helmet. Beat us for like so many years in Foxborough. And then fans will always say, "Oh, well, their fans are mean." Well, what do you expect if they hand you out cotton candy and roses? Then Saul came up here, and I saw what his experience was. Did you get accosted by any fan?
Not at all.
We had Patriot fans wanting to take pictures with us. I live here. We were dancing in the end zone.
Literally.
And it wasn't like the Dolphins were blowing them out. It was a close game. We won it at the end with most that ran it in from when we were running out the clock. Yeah, we were running out the clock. It wasn't like we were up 38-0, or it was a tight game, which generally Dolphins and New England games are. I tell people my house is open. I don't live in a bad neighborhood. I live in a good neighborhood. I own my home. And I invited Saul. I met Saul through X.
Yeah.
I only knew him for 4 months. I met him down at the fan club weekend against Minnesota. And I went down for that game because my father, who's a big Minnesota fan, we always had planned to go, whether the Dolphins played in Minnesota or the Dolphins played in Miami, to go together. He passed. My brothers were Minnesota fans. My younger brothers are Steelers fans, and my sister was a Cowboys fan. So I had no choice but argue with these people all the time. And as followers of the Dolphins, I take it real, like, personal when I hear people say, "Oh, I'm going to go see whoever the hot team is this year," when for all the years as followers of the team, you knew that team here is hated. I don't, tell anybody honestly to do what they do with their own money, because I'm not in charge of anybody's personal life other than my own. But I know, like I had told Saul, you only have to come here once. You only have to come here once, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And
I was going to say, Russell, I was planning on going up there this year and everything, but there's a lot of things that turned on me.
Paul,
I wanted to come up there this year with Saul and you and go to the game. But
Paul,
there's a lot of things turned on me this year. And
Paul, my thing is this. I'm not telling a person to stop what they're doing because I said to come. I'm telling people to come because it's a good experience, one. Two, they're our main rival. I don't care that Aaron Rodgers joined this team or this one went to this team. Those aren't rivals to me. Rivals are teams that when you get up in the morning and you say to yourself, "I hate that team. I can't stand that team." You can say that about the Jets. You can say that about the Bills. But between the Jets and the Bills, how many Super Bowl wins?
One.
And when was that Super Bowl? I was 3 years old when they won that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
That's the year I
the
was
Jets won in
born.
1967. I was 3 years old. Is that important for you to say that's a rival? That's not a rival to me. A rival
Right.
is somebody that you know that when you get up in the morning, or you go to work, or you go about your everyday life, you say, I hate that team. I can't wait till we play them. Because it's funny how Dolphin fans love when New England get beat in Miami, but they won't come up here. I spoke with 4 people who have never been up here. They came, they loved it. Bob Sampson,
And my
great
thing is, I still have yet to gone to a regular season away game anywhere.
yeah. Well, you know, the funny thing is, I went in the Navy November 4th of 1982. And my first Dolphin game ever was in 1970 at Boston University against the Patriots. The Dolphins against the Patriots. I was a 6-year-old. We lost to the Patriots that day. I cried and cried and cried as a 6-year-old. I was going to Patriots Dolphins games every single season till I went in the Navy in 82. And then my first Dolphin game in Miami was as a junior in high school in 81 at the Orange Bowl against the Baltimore Colts. And it was David Woodley was the starting quarterback. The next year I was in the Navy. I flew from San Diego to see the playoff game, the Dolphins against the Seattle Seahawks when they were in the AFC. We lost to the Seahawks in the last drive of the game. Steve Largent and Jim Zorn. We bottled them up the whole game. And we lost to them. I think it was 27-20, if my memory serves me right. I was so mad flying back to San Diego, California, after seeing the Dolphins lose. I was mad. I stayed at the Sheraton Yankee Clipper, downtown Fort Lauderdale. And I can still remember this guy giving me static because he had a Seattle Seahawks jersey on. And he was like, oh, the Dolphins stink. And we beat the Dolphins. And Dan Marino didn't do nothing. And you know the funny thing with us as fans, we always remember the good times. Obviously, you know, nobody wants to remember the bad times. But I told Saul, and I will tell all of you guys, my worst game as a Dolphin follower was 1974 against the Oakland Raiders, where we lost 28-26 in the playoffs. And you know why that game bothers me to this day? That game bothers me to this day because that was the end of our dynasty. And the reason being, we lost Warfield, Jim Kick, and Larry Zonka to the WFL. And that was the end of our dynasty. We went from a possible 4th straight appearance in the Super Bowl to watching the Steelers dynasty. And then, you had other teams obviously come up. But as our supremacy in the AFC went, and that team was a super talented team. That was one of the better Dolphin teams, that 74 team. Mm-hmm. And we hadn't went back to the Super Bowl till 1984 when Marino and the Dolphins lost to San Francisco. And I think we've made maybe 4 playoff appearances.
Didn't you go with Don Struck one before after that? In between, you went and you lost to the Redskins. Yeah, we lost to the Redskins.
Yeah, but that was David Woodley was the quarterback. Struck pulled out the game against the Chargers and got us into the overtime. David Woodley took us to the Super Bowl. We lost to the Redskins with John Riggins.
Yeah.
Oh man, don't say that.
So then after that we went to we went one more time after 74. Then we went with Marino.
Well, Marino didn't get to the Dolphins till 83.
Uh-huh.
And we only went to one Super Bowl in Marino's career. And that was against San Francisco.
Yeah. But I'm saying before that, we lost to the Redskins. It was the Redskins.
Yeah, that was with David Woodley. That was the strike season.
Yeah.
Yep, we lost. We were 7-2. We beat New England in the playoffs because that year was the year that the Patriots beat us with the snowplow. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then they had that, remember the snowplow in Miami. We beat them in the playoffs in the Orange Bowl. And then Marino became the full-time starter. He took over for Woodley, and then he took us to the playoffs that year. We lost to Seattle. The 84 season, we lost the Super Bowl to San Francisco. And the 85 season, the following season, we lost the AFC Championship to the Patriots, squished the fish.
And they say that up here on a regular basis.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, they say that on a regular basis.
Well, you know what? It's funny.
They're not
That just
smart enough
says
to
how
know
that a dolphin's a mammal, not a fish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
See, John, great minds think alike, John.
Yep. I say that all the time. Somebody says squish the fish. I go, you're not very intelligent, are you? You don't even know that the dolphin's a mammal.
You know, the funny thing is, I was telling Saul, and I tell anybody who, well, obviously most Dolphin fans, because I'm old, haven't seen the Dolphins win the Super Bowl. I tell people the Dolphins winning the Super Bowl those back-to-back years when I was a kid is the equivalent of being a kid and having 10 Christmases. You're hot, your chest, you just don't know how to act. You're walking around like on a cloud. I was walking around as a 10-year-old swinging my arms like George Jefferson. I was so excited.
Well,
And I wish, God willing, that our fan base gets to see that because it's incredible.
Well,
I went
that was my grandfather, Russell. My grandfather lived in
Yep.
Hialeah,
Yep.
and we used to go down there and go to the Orange Bowl games all the time.
Yep.
And I was 5 years old when the Dolphins went undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember the excitement with my grandfather and the whole thing, and that's where
Yeah.
I've been ever since.
You know, the funny thing, like I said, with our fan following, because like I said, I was in the Navy. I remember being in Subic Naval Base in the Philippines, and I was driving around, and I seen this lady selling kiwi fruit, and she had on an old school Miami Dolphin jersey. I don't know how they got that in the Philippines, but she had a number 12 Bob Greasy jersey on. We're talking maybe 1986, maybe. And I'm looking at her, and I said, foolishly, "Oh, you're a Miami Dolphin fan?" And she had like the strangest look on her face. I was like, "Well, I guess she ain't a Miami Dolphin fan."
She made it at her second job.
Yeah. And I, you know, like I said, as followers of our team, you know, I never judge a book by the cover because I've seen, you know, so much. And I mean, like, I got like an extensive memory. I tell people all the time, when it comes to Miami Dolphins, my mind's like the Pacific Ocean. You can't swim in my mind because you'll drown. It's too deep.
I believe that, brother.
Oh, and I got one more thing to say. I don't know if this will get to him, but I'm going to address this. This is for Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is a sports commentator. And the thing that bothers me more than anything is when people who do things for clicks and follows and have an extensive quote-unquote following, and they say stuff that is untrue or in a sense misspeak or misspoke. Like it's almost like if I'm in an algebra test and I got someone behind the scenes with a microphone speaking the answers into my ear. Of course I'm going to pass the test. Stephen A. Smith one day said, it was one of the shows about a year ago where he was saying who were the GOAT quarterbacks. He had said the GOAT quarterbacks were Aaron Rodgers, I'm pretty sure he said, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Joe Montana. All good quarterbacks. I have no problem with that. But then he came out with the foolish statement that I guess one of the other people who were on the shows for was different, and they had mentioned Dan Marino. Stephen A. Smith said that Dan Marino wasn't one of his GOATs because he never won a Super Bowl. Okay, that's fine. But then he came out with such an outlandish statement after that. He said that Marino had Dupa, Clayton, Chuck Muncie and all those boys, he should have won a title. Could you tell me what's wrong with that statement?
Chuck Muncie never played with the Miami Dolphins.
Chuck Muncie was never a Miami Dolphin. This is the circumstances where people say foolish things. Chuck Muncie played for 2 NFL teams. He played for the New Orleans Saints and at the time the San Diego Chargers. Chuck Muncie was traded to the Dolphins, but he never played it down as a Dolphin because he failed the drug test. So the trade was rescinded. He went back to the Chargers, who then tried to trade him to the Seattle Seahawks, who at the time were coached by Chuck Knox. Chuck Knox didn't want him, so he retired. He was out of the league for maybe, 2 years maybe. He tried to come back with the Minnesota Vikings. He led the preseason in rushing. He was incredible. The week before the regular season started, he retired. But Stephen A. Smith, every time he gets on his quote-unquote soapbox and says outlandish, foolish stuff, like I said, it's almost like a test being I don't have a teleprompter here. I'm not reading off a book. I'm not having someone whisper in my ear to tell me stats and figures. But I know what I know. And Stephen A. Smith should stick to what he knows. Absolutely nothing. Because you know what I'm saying? How are you going to go against an army with a handgun? He's a handgun.
Apology.
I'm an army.
Knicks fans don't claim him. He owes us an apology first for Brunson.
Yeah, and then the other thing too, he always, glosses over stuff, and I mean that's fine. He's a New York Knicks fan. I have no problem with that. But the last time the New York Knicks were relevant, the Dolphins won a Super Bowl.
Right.
And it was with Clyde Frazier, Dave DeBusschere, Bill Bradley, Willis Reed, Dee Meminger. I remember all the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to speak on a subject, like my father used to say all the time, don't go into a subject you know nothing about unless you have the ammunition. Mm-hmm. You can't shoot a squirt gun against an AK-47. He's a squirt gun. I'm an AK-47. Mm-hmm. I got too many shots in my holster for non-sports journalism.
Real quick, Saul, your surprise guest cannot make it tonight.
No problem.
I just got that message.
Okay.
That's okay, because I can call her.
Well, no, it's one guy. It's a guy. It's a guy and a female. So.
Oh, okay.
The female is the one who cannot make it.
Okay, so yeah.
That's okay.
We figured that was gonna happen.
Yo, she's super busy. Right. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give her flowers. I meet a lot of people. Shake Money is super cool. You're super cool.
Yeah,
everybody on this forum is cool. My friends here have podcasts. Everybody's, Russell, you need to come on my show. Russell, you need to talk about this. Russell, you need to talk about that. The fun thing with sports is similar to likes in food and likes in music and likes in fashion. We all like what we like, but don't mean you're wrong or right. It's your choice. Yep. And Allie Goodman, special person. I'm going to say this, and I rarely discuss people, but I'm going to tell you, this woman goes beyond the call as a follower of the Dolphins.
Oh, we all agree with you on that, bro.
She's about community. She's about people. And, I told her a while ago when she became the fan of the year, I was voting like 1,000 times a day. My girl started laughing. She's like, Russell, you ain't getting tired? I was like, why? I'm retired. What am I going to get tired from?
Exactly.
Certain people, just touch your intellect in a certain way. And I mean, it's not about, I've never seen a person be so gracious and so caring about others around her and to take unnecessary shots from people who absolutely do nothing. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and stand on a soapbox and say, well, you could have or would have or should have done it. If you have to be coerced into doing something, then don't do it. because she does things out of the graciousness of her spirit.
Yeah.
And she's not looking for, look what I did. She never points a finger at herself, and she could if she wanted to. I've seen some stuff that she's done, and I'm just like head scratching because she does things that people don't know about. She does like the things that people do know about, but she's not looking for any praise. She's not looking for any adulation. And I call her family. I call her kids. I'm Uncle Russell to them. Her husband Jared, solid. I tell these people who get mad that, oh, well, she's popular. Well, she doesn't ask to be popular. She only asks to be accepted for what she does, not for what she, quote unquote, appears to be for you. Because I've never asked her for anything. But I guarantee that if I did need something, she'd be the first one there outside of all of you and Saul. You know, I'm due for self.
No, you're right, 100% right with her. She is that person who is just a loving, caring, wonderful sweetheart of a woman. Does anything she can for anybody if she can.
Yeah.
For real.
I mean, you know the thing too. I met her at the same time I met Saul, and at that time was during the bad hurricane in Naples and stuff. So I brought her all kinds of things to the Fan Fest weekend. I had to bring a separate because I brought clothes for these people, so she could, you know, donate. And Saul will tell you, I met Saul. I got clothes in my closet from the 90s with price tags still on them that I've never touched or worn. Because at that time, I was a hoarder. I would buy stuff just to say I had it, but then I forgot all about it. And she was like, Russell, what are you doing with all this stuff? I was like, man, somebody could use it. It's not going to do me no good. It's size extra large in my closet. It could help someone that needs something. And she didn't ask me to do it. She didn't know I was doing it.
What's going on, Hooked Up Joe? How you doing tonight?
What's up, Hooked Up Joe? Joe, you there?
Joe must have stepped away or something.
Hey, Paul.
Yes, sir.
Hey, before you had spoken on Marcus May, what do you like about that, and what do you think that's going to do?
It's gonna if he makes the team, because all these are ifs right now until we get through training camp. If he makes a team, it's just another backup there for rotation and stuff.
Okay, so now you got Marcus May, Jordan Poyer. Maybe they'll use Nick Needham at safety at some points. And how about Javon Holland?
Yep.
Shouldn't he be signed, you think?
Oh yeah, I think he should. He's young. He's got. I mean, they look up to him. Other players look up to him because he's a go-getter, really.
I'm gonna say something. It might not be friendly to Dolphin fans, but I have a strange misconception and a strange feeling that Javon Holland is going to be gone, just like Christian Wilkins. Mm-hmm. And it's not because I don't want him as a Dolphin. I love Javon Holland. But I got a funny feeling that the Dolphins, with that money that they got June 1st, that they used a little on Marcus May, they're going to sign Tua, regardless of what Dolphin fans think and want to say. Tua's definitely going to get signed. They're going to move money around to pay Tyreek Hill. And of the two major free agents left, because they re-signed Waddle, I think they're going to sign Phillips, and they're not going to sign Holland.
Because Holland said he's kind of wanting to reset the market, and we're not having that. We're already too tight on the cap, so we're not resetting the market for the safety. So yeah. I think you're spot on that one. Pretty common discussion around here is that exactly what you said. We're pretty much on board with that 90% or something like that. Most people.
Yeah,
How you doing tonight, Hooked Up Joe?
What's going on, Hooked Up Joe?
What's up, Hooked Up Joe?
What's up, Hooked Up? What's up, Joe?
What's up?
We've all pretty much said the same thing. Holland's going to be the odd man out.
I think Holland is a great player for I mean, the time he's been with the Dolphins. But like I said the song before, I've seen this movie before.
Yep.
We let Wilkins go too long. He played out his mind. He got a big deal. We did the same thing with the tackle that went to the Panthers, Jones.
Hunt.
Hunt, excuse me, Robert Hunt. And you know, it's got to the point where we've become too set with building our offense and forgetting that those positions in the back end need to be addressed. Like we signed Anthony Walker from Cleveland as a linebacker. We got Jordan Brooks, who's it's actually like a trade because Baker went to Seattle and we got it. I think like the year before, or maybe 2 years, we should have went after a trade to get Roquan Smith, which was a major mistake. We didn't get him. Miami hasn't had a forceful linebacker, middle linebacker, to be honest with you, since I'll say Zach Thomas. And then if you want to go after Zach Thomas, maybe Channing Crowder and Joey Porter.
I like Carlos Dunlap. Carlos Dunlap was pretty good.
Yeah, Carlos Dunlap, but he was near
Danby
the
didn't
end.
play bad either.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He was kind of at the tail end of his career. He was good. Don't get me wrong. He was really good. Brian Cox way earlier, you know, but we neglected our defense in order to build up our offense, which is similar to the Marino era. We had Duper, Clayton, Marino, and our defense wasn't good. And then when our defense got good, our offense wasn't good. So we really generally didn't have any balance. And it's turned into a bad cycle with our team because we dole out a lot of money for certain positions, and then we don't have depth at other positions. And then we got a bargain basement shop when we lose guys due to injury. Who's to say how our season could stop? We could possibly have Jordan Phillips and Bradley Chubb on the PUP. They might not be back. We got a new defensive coordinator. So obviously there's going to be growing pains there. You have a secondary that is Jalen Ramsey, Javon Holland, okay, but you also have a slot opening because Keita Kuda Kohu, he had a rough last year. He had it bad last year. Not saying that he can't rebound. You also got Fuller from the Commanders, new player. So there's going to be growing pains, and they're hoping, God willing, that quarterback stays healthy, which I think he shall. But we don't run enough, and we don't balance our offense enough that, like I said earlier, if we have to throw on 3rd and inches as a fan of the Dolphins, most of us, I'm a follower, I'm not a fan. Fans only blow when it's hot.
See, I have to disagree. You keep saying that, and I disagree. I have a fan running in my room 365 days a year.
Yeah, well, where you live?
New Jersey.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just saying the fan only blows when it's hot.
No, it could be 0 degrees out. That fan's still running in my room.
I have central air, but like I said, we have ceiling fans, and that's all cool. It's just a side light, not anything personal. I think our team has great potential, but potential gets people fired. And I would hate to see this conversation in 2 years where we get a new head coach, which I hope not, because I like McDaniel. I think he's like a young, I would say I hate when they say he's like Shanahan out in San Francisco. I don't think so. I think he could be like a young version of a maybe like a Harbaugh in San Francisco when he first got there.
Somebody said Marv Levy, like a young Marv Levy.
Nah, Bob Levy was more like a robot. Bob Levy for Buffalo was like a robot. I like the fact that McDaniel is like he's very creative and he's like an offensive genius. But what I don't like about him is in late season games, we abandon the run. And our run looks great when we're running against Denver, a million yards. And all that flash looks great. But if you have to throw on 3rd and 1, which doesn't work in the snow, doesn't work in Buffalo, doesn't work against the Ravens, doesn't work against the Chiefs, you're not going to maximize the potential of your team as long as you continue to be a finesse team. San Francisco don't throw on 3rd and inches. Why? Because they're physical. Dallas doesn't throw on 3rd and 1 because they'll run the ball down your throat. I mean, not the present Cowboys, but when they had Emmitt Smith, who should have been a Dolphin in '93.
Yeah, that definitely should have happened.
But Shula was stubborn because Shula's like, well, I pay you, then there's going to be other people mad on the team. Well, don't you want to win the Super Bowl? It's the pot of sacrifice that people don't realize. Because we got a great team. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I wouldn't sit here and say we don't, because we have great skilled positions. But when it comes down to the A's and B's, we don't see the right way. And that always sends to bite us in the end. We always have an issue with our offensive line late in the season due to injuries. We sign guys off the street that if you're not good enough to be on somebody else's team, but you're good enough to be on the Dolphins, that should be a warning flag right there for anybody. We re-signed Kendall Lamb, who played really well, but who's to say what's going to happen with Teron Armstead? Who's a great player, but he gives you 7 games a year. Last time I checked, we play 17, right?
Yes.
Okay. You have Austin Jackson, who fans couldn't stand. He played well when he was healthy.
Please, that's all.
He played well. I don't see Connor Williams, maybe not. Maybe they bring him back. I don't know.
Depends on
how his injury. Yeah. I didn't really see, like, they got Brewer from Tennessee as our center now, which I think he'd probably be better as a guard. I mean, I'm not a coach, but if Connor Williams per se was healthy, then he would be our center. Because if anybody who followed the Dolphins realized we were better and playing well when Connor Williams was in, but when he went down, we had Eichenberg at center, who's probably more suited as a rotational guy. And I'm not taking anything away from him because I'm not a professional player and I'm not going to demean another man. But I thought we should have possibly signed Dalton Risner, who was a free agent this year. And he went back on a chunk change deal to Minnesota. We could have drafted the best center in the draft, who ended up going to the Raiders. We drafted who did we draft? Chop Robinson, who was decent, but it wasn't a position of need. We could have traded back, got another pick. We didn't trade back. We drafted a defensive end, and I understand them drafting a defensive end because we lost Chubb, we lost Phillips, which is no problem. But couldn't you have traded back and still got something? Because there was some decent players later in the 2nd round, 3rd round. Mohamed Kamara is a good player. A lot of people don't know about him, but he's a really good player from Colorado State. And undrafted Mark Perry from TCU, that safety, he's a tremendous player. He could possibly make the Dolphins and be a decent difference maker. But we ended up drafting 2 wide receivers. I mean, I'm not a talent coordinator. I'm not a scout. But like I said to Saul, and I will say this till I'm blue in the face, I have seen this movie before. And in order for us as a fan following, I'll be a fan now, we have to be physical. Because late in the year, you're not beating Cleveland. You're not beating Baltimore. You're not beating Cincinnati in those confines in November, December by passing. You're not doing it. It's not happening. And we can all go back to this next year. And if I'd rather the Dolphins prove me wrong than win a Super Bowl because I've seen two. Don't take my quote unquote bashing for empathy because I love the Dolphins, just like we all do. But if we're going to continue to be finesse, those teams like Baltimore, it was ugly to see what Baltimore did to us in Baltimore. And I mean, yeah, we were beat up. Yeah, we were.
But that was, to be honest with you, I'm going to sit there and speak on that. That was warranted. What you think was going to happen when we was going back into Baltimore? They were not going to forget what we did to them in 2022 when we came back in that game. You knew that game was circled just like how San Fran circled the game against the Eagles in the season last season. It was the same shit.
But
they didn't forget about that.
Yeah, but that's understandable. But the Dolphins went down the field. The first drive of the game scored. They could have taken a life away from them. What the Dolphins did was the Dolphins went finesse after they got punched in the mouth. So it was almost like they quit. And then in the end of the game was already out of hand. You lost Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb didn't need to be in their pass rusher when you're down over 30-something points. So now you've jeopardized one of your bigger players for a meaningless series or drive. The game was over. They were up 35. Mm-hmm. Bradley Chubb's not going to change a game's outlook or problems that the Dolphins had in one series. They were down 30.
Agreed.
And then you had a team who was quote unquote number one in the NFL in rushing, but you were throwing. We got past that. And no, but this is the point I'm trying to make. You were losing the game. Okay, that's fine. So you want to keep throwing balls to get your defense back on the field while you were losing, rather than run the ball, run out the clock, and Baltimore was already up. It wasn't like they were trying to get back on their offense. We threw the ball incomplete. So you throw 3 incomplete passes in a row. What happens? You bring a tired, beat-up defense back on the field against a team who, quote-unquote, will go with your revenge on their mind. So they gave them more chances to inflict injury upon our team for a meaningless game that we were already out of. It's about mentality. It's about play calling. It's about luck. You don't win in the NFL because you're better. You win because injuries play a big part in it. Schedule plays a big part in it. Injuries play a big part in it. And it's just right place, right time. It happens all the time. How many times have we as fans, and then again, I'm not a fan, I'm a follower. I'm a follower, which is better than a fan. we sit and we coach and we armchair quarterback and we critique and we say this and we say that. Oh, this shouldn't have happened. Oh, why did this happen? We all, love our team enough that on Monday morning, depending on what happens Sunday afternoon or Sunday night or Monday night, we're screaming and hollering, they shouldn't have done this, they should have done that. Listen, I've been at Dolphin camp in the film room, and I watched people say and do things that you say, wow, this team really got fire in them. I remember seeing people that you just knew had that fire that they wanted to win. This era of football now, to me anyway, just my opinion, don't mean anybody's right or wrong, it's just my opinion. Everything's more social conscience. Everybody wants money. Everybody wants to be seen in the best car. Everybody wants, but don't want to work. There are certain players, don't get me wrong, that are about business. They want to be the best, they want to win, and they want what comes with it. But then there are guys that are similar to people like we know, just go to work just to get a check. There are a few that the Dolphins had on the roster last year. I'm not going to say no name because I want to protect the innocent. There are a lot of players that you knew were only there to get a check. And then you said, oh, I could be the first one to say it because I said at the start, well, we signed this guy. Oh, man, he was talented with this team. He didn't do nothing with us. He didn't do jack. And, of course, we all said, oh, what a wasted signing. But at the time, we thought, man, it's the best thing since sliced bread. It happens. We love our team. We all, every season, and for some of us, it's been a long time. And some of us know what we like, what we don't like, what we see. Like I tell people, season starts September. Preseason is a joke because you don't know what's going to happen in preseason. Who would have thought the year that the Lions had? They were good, they were talented, but they were only a play or two away from going to Super Bowl. Other than bad decisions in that fourth quarter against San Francisco, they were a play or two away from going to Super Bowl. Green Bay was talented too, but early in the year you were like, "Oh, they ain't going nowhere." What happened? They were a play or two away from going to Super Bowl against San Francisco. Both those teams, the Lions and the Packers, let San Francisco off the hook. When we went into that playoff game, first of all, Amazon Prime, are you kidding me? An NFL playoff game on NFL Prime, Amazon Prime. Are you kidding me? In the coldest game ever, with a beat-up team against the defending Super Bowl champs. How did anybody...
Actually, it was Peacock. It was on Peacock, which was worse.
Yeah, Peacock. My mistake.
So,
But how can anybody in their right frame of mind honestly believe that the Dolphins are going to win that? If you really believe that, then yeah, the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny are my next door neighbors. Because that, no.
I didn't know they beat the Massachusetts.
yeah, I was trust me. I think I seen them.
Hey, tell Tooth Fairy she owes me some money.
I just think, like I said, we're all fans. We love our team. And I mean, like me and Saul were talking earlier about, we were talking about the preseason and Saul was saying, I got to see with my own eyes what they're going to do. That ain't even going to be enough because who says what our roster is going to look like, the final roster come September? There's guys that we probably aren't even thinking about right now in preseason that could possibly be released, could end up on our team, could be guys that you never thought would make the team. There are some guys that you hope changed off the team. So, I mean, like I said, I'm optimistic. I just think that as our team goes, hopefully we become more ball control. We still, like I said, we know we got Tyreek Hill. We know we got Jalen Waddle. We know we got Raheem Mostert. We got Achane. We got the new kid Ryan. So we can run the ball and pass the ball and catch the ball. But when it comes to that crucial moment, when it's 3rd and 1 and we're seeing 3 wideouts, you already know we're not running the ball.
Unless he's throwing a
bubble screen.
A bubble screen 5 yards behind.
And that's what I'm saying about every team adjusts. You see how we were flying early in the season when nobody could touch us? Then in the late in the season, those plays no longer work. There were 7 and 8 yard losses.
Teams caught up to that shit.
And you know what it is? The Dolphins got too cocky with the we're better than you. You can't match us. We're faster than you. And that only goes so far. We lost to Tennessee when we could have had a home playoff game. We wouldn't even have had to play that game against Buffalo, which was embarrassing at home. To have a whole crowd of Buffalo Bill fans acting like that was their stadium.
Yeah.
That's insulting. And anybody with any salt in their blood would be like, oh, hell no. I went to Miami, and I remember they were that whole garbage mafia on Seabreeze Boulevard at Fort Lauderdale, chanting and going crazy. And then the Dolphins beat them, and all Buffalo Bill fans cried and complained, it's too hot, it's too hot. That was our natural advantage in the early 90s, where the Dolphins always had 3 of their first 4 games in September. But the NFL went away from that because know why? Because quote-unquote heat index, the NFL wanted to get away from people collapsing and people passing out and people getting sick. So if you realize the schedule, you notice there aren't 3 1 o'clock games in September. They'll put a game at night where it's cooler. They'll put a 4:15 or 4:25 type of game. There's no longer 3 games in September, all at 1 o'clock when it's blazing hot.
Right.
Because NFL guidelines, they want to keep people safe, the players, and well, it's a cash cow.
All right, so hold on. We got my brother on there. He asked a question, and this is for the panel as well. Please explain how do you want the future future pertaining to your coach and still want to stand on old school principles? This is for anybody on the panel.
Before you do answer though, in September there's no such thing as cooler in Florida.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying cooler, but what I'm saying is I used to go to games in September where I would bring 2 shirts to the game because by the time I got to the stadium, that shirt was, I could fill up a bucket with the perspiration. And I wore the color white t-shirt, white shorts. And it was 1 o'clock games. And I would bring friends that be like, oh man, I could have sworn I saw the devil clipping his toenails on the goalpost. It was so hot. And people didn't realize how extremely hot. And I'm talking about, I was going to games when they had the dirt infield, when the Marlins used to play at Pro Player. And they had 1 o'clock games. And I remember going down for, I think it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the night before, I was at Sawgrass Mills Mall, and I had bought a Dolphins rain jacket, a white Dolphins rain jacket. All my friend that was with me said, oh, it's going to be like 98. You're crazy. And first quarter, it was hotter than Hades. Second quarter, I seen this dark cloud. It poured for the rest of the game. And the dirt infield turned into a quagmire where the Dolphins ran only on one side of the field. Dan Marino was the quarterback. And Pittsburgh's quarterback at the time was Cordell Stewart. And it was, I mean, I never seen so much rain other than what's going on down in Florida. I mean, stay safe, all you people out there. And I couldn't believe how hot it was. The next season, those games started diminishing. They were no longer 1 o'clock starts. They were 4:15 starts. There will be a night game. And the NFL knows what they're doing because our natural advantage was those September games where we'd get off to a fast start. A lot of the times, if you look over those 90s seasons, the Dolphins were really like jump out to a 3-0 stop, 4-0 stop, and then maybe they'd get an upset loss somewhere in the cold weather mid-November. But they always, generally by the mid-schedule, after 10 weeks, were either 7-3, 8-2, 9-1, and then they would fade because most of their schedule depended on games up here in the Northeast late in the season, a Jets game, a Bills game, Dolphins, Patriots game. So, you know, the NFL got away from that. And then when the Dolphins reconfigured the stadium, what did they do? They made the Dolphin sideline in the shade, and the architects made the visiting team in the heat because they knew that was a natural advantage.
Well, real quick, Eric Winters, if you want, I emailed you the link because I know that's an easier way for you to join us. If you want to get on, go to your email, get on, hit the link, and join us.
Okay, you better hurry your ass up, man. I ain't gonna be on here too long. Shoot, I'm tired.
Oh, getting back to Eric's question.
Hold on. What's up, John?
I'm going to jump off. I had a really long day today, so.
Okay,
Appreciate
brother.
you, John.
Peace, love, and fins up, brother.
All right,
Fins up,
Appreciate you, my brother. Yeah, getting back to Eric's question. Eric's question was saying about what do we think about the coach and with the old school principles.
Mm-hmm.
I like McDaniel. McDaniel's he has a lot of old school in him. He could be similar to like a young Shula, but you know, the way the game is now, you don't see too many old school guys like a Bill Cowher type or a Marty Schottenheimer type or even like Bill Belichick or like you know, those guys, Mike Sherman. A lot of the teams now is finesse. A lot of teams is fly patterns and deep throws. And it's not as like old school as like I grew up. It was runs, physical. I mean, I grew up. Man, the era I grew up as a kid. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
That's not good.
You had Larry Zonka, you had Franco Harris, you had Earl Campbell, you had Tony Dorsett. The game is different.
Right.
A lot of the game was run the ball. Let's see if you can stop me. And then midway through, probably like we got penalized and we got selfish watching Dan Marino. Because Dan Marino was like zip, zip, zip. And the game was so fast paced. And as fans, we were super excited about that. You're seeing diminutive receivers like Clayton and Duper, fast and quick off the ball. And then the Rams had Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, fast guys. You know, so the game's changed a lot. The Colts had Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. So the game changed so much that we got spoiled. Because, I mean, I grew up watching the run game. Then in the 80s, it gave it the pass game, and now it's crazy passing. And then you can't tackle the quarterback. I remember Dan Marino getting tackled by his knees, hit upside the head, which all that stuff would be penalties today.
You have assault charges.
And you know, the funny part with all that, like most Dolphin fans don't remember, but I mean, you were spoiled. Dan Marino spoiled us. I mean, I seen Bob Greasy, and I seen go on for days about all the guys after Marino, but we got spoiled. And, you know, that era's gone. I mean, we still pass the ball 100 times, and, you know, it's exciting. But when it comes, push comes to shove, still got to be able to run the ball.
Right.
And the teams that win run the ball. Look at Kansas City. Name who their top receivers were, really. Really nobody. They're tight end. Travis Kelce. But when they needed yards, they turned around and handed that ball to Pacheco. And he was pound. Are we saying that Pacheco's better than what we got? No.
So, Eric, to answer your question, Butch Berry is our defensive coordinator. He said, shit, we are
Our offensive line coach, which was his question.
Yeah, that was Butch Berry is our line coach. Paul, is everything all right?
Yeah. Thankfully, we still have the muzzle on Finn.
Okay. I've said.
So.
But you know what's funny is the one thing that's understated about last year's Kansas City Chiefs is I think a lot of credit goes to the defense, because in the playoffs they held the Ravens to 10 points, you know, Dolphins to 7 points. Outside of the Buffalo game, and you know they held San Francisco to under 21 points. So the defense had a lot to play in that the Chiefs winning last year.
Oh, definitely. You know, the funny thing about the Chiefs that people don't realize is they have a winning mentality. They don't feel like they're out of any game. A lot of teams could fall behind on the road, and you could see it in people. You could see it in the way they conduct themselves. And Kansas City is a different breed, man.
You got to look at it. When you got Andy Reid as the head coach, you got Spagnuolo as the defensive coordinator. Both of those guys have seen almost anything and everything in the league for decades. So it's not like
which is understandable. But you know the funny thing is, how many tackles has Andy Reid made last year?
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but you got to understand this. He understands the game and schemes of things.
Okay,
he has not made
but
the
you
tackles.
still have to have people make those plays.
But he is the one facilitating that.
But you still have to have people make them plays. So, okay, well, you put it this way. Andy Reid was with Philly, right?
Right.
Did he win?
No.
Why? Same coach, right?
Same coach.
So you got to make plays.
You got to make plays. The thing about it is
they had good teams, though.
Yeah, good teams, but they listen. They had good teams and quarterbacks. But if they don't make the plays, then what happens?
Okay, you just said he knows the schemes. He knows
if the schemes are not being followed by the players at the time.
Okay, then you need players.
Kansas City got the players.
Just answer my question.
Yeah.
And I just said to you, Kansas City has a winning mentality because they believe that they can win anytime, any place. And Kansas City won in Buffalo.
Yeah.
With who? They had a tight end, a quarterback, and a running back. And who was those three? When they needed to crunch plays, Pacheco ran, Kelce caught, the quarterback, Mahomes, made the plays. They made great defensive plays. Don't get me wrong. Their defense stepped up. And they lost their corner.
And I mean, think about it. Special team played missed field goals.
Yep.
That came into play huge. Because you think about it, if Buffalo makes that field goal, they might win that game. Think about that. And just coincidentally, the ball goes far right, and we just go back to the future, seeing something that we saw about 30 years before.
Yep. I'm going to give you an if, like my father used to say.
if I was on the ballot, I could have been president, but I wasn't.
No. True. Should have.
We're gonna have a good year. Like I said, it's all comes down to our offensive line staying healthy, obviously, and we need to change our mentality about pass. If we 3rd and 1, run the ball, get a first down, you got to give your offensive line the belief that we're going to knock these guys off the ball. Right? If we always get lined up and we're in 3rd and 1 and we got 4 receivers, we're not winning the Super Bowl. I'm going to tell you that. And I hate to say it because, like I said, I love the Dolphins just as much as anybody out there.
What's up,
Welcome
brother?
to the panel, Eric.
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Wonderful.
That's my younger brother, Eric. Eric, this is Russell.
Nice to
Eric.
meet you, Eric.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Hey,
What's
man,
up,
you know I love y'all show, man, and all the subjects that you guys talk about. But I had to put into some questions, some things. So my fingers couldn't type fast enough, so I had to jump on.
That's fine. That's fine. We like you having you on.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. The reason why I was asking the question of who's your O-line coach, and because right now we're dealing with the possibility of having a lame duck coach and Nick Sirianni being up here because they decided to go a different direction, but still have him as the face card. I really don't understand. I'm not saying that you guys are complaining or anything like that. I really don't understand where y'all coming from because y'all got an innovative coach. We'll trade our coach for your coach any day.
You know why? I think I can't speak for all fans, but I'm going to say this for me. When you are 23, 24 years going into the playoffs with no wins, when you don't have that, after a while, when you got 50-something years with no Super Bowl, after a while, it starts to eat up on you. It doesn't matter how good your team is. It's about what you do with that team year in and year out. So you can add all these pieces. You can add all these pieces. You can do all this. If it's not resulting with that silver trophy at the end of the year, it's personally, it's a good season, but it's a failure. You're just it's like everybody else. You're one of those teams that was there or could have been there, but you weren't the one. So
What's his name?
Eric.
Yeah. Hey, Eric.
Yo, what's up?
I'm gonna give you a little history lesson. Are you an Eagles fan?
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
unfortunately, yes, he
I'm
is.
gonna say this to you, Eric, because I've been a Dolphin fan since 1970, and I tell this to people because I've seen the Dolphins win Super Bowls, not on videotapes, not on Memorex, not on Betamax. Philadelphia, because I got family in Wyncote. The Eagles won the Super Bowl against the team, the state I live in, Massachusetts, who I can't stand. I won't even mention them. Sirianni is decent, and I know the Eagles, for some odd reason, are probably prepping up Fangio to be their head coach. And Sirianni, he really beat his team into the ground late in the year where they were so exhausted because they were so intent on trying to stay undefeated. So that put a lot of pressure on the Eagles. I think the Eagles super talented, and they just got to get away from that stupid shove thing. And their defense was beat up at the end of the year. But the Eagles are going to be all right. Fangio will get the defense back. I just think that the problem with Philadelphia was, like they said, they ran out of gas. I mean, it was tough to lose that Super Bowl that they lost. So that took a lot out of their sales. And then, of course, the expectations, they came into the next year, and everybody, we're going right back to the Super Bowl. But the funny part is they went away from what made them good. And they were pretty decent running the ball. And then they got comfortable with, because they have Brown and they have Smith, and they wanted to throw more because they gave Hurts the money when they went away from their ball control and that play action passing. Philly's going to be tough. Philly's problem, like I said, was they ran out of gas and they were undefeated for so long. What were they, 8-9-0 for a while, maybe? and
They
then
were
ran.
10 and 0 before
That's
the
what I'm saying.
downfall.
So that puts a lot of pressure on you, believe you or not. Everybody thinks it's, oh, well, we start out undefeated. Well, yeah, it goes a lot into that. And then once somebody goes down, when they lost Lane Johnson for a little bit, and then they lost the linebacker, what's his name, from Georgia?
Reddick.
No, not really.
Wasn't Reddick.
The young boy.
The Kobe Dean.
Kobe Dean.
The Kobe Dean, who was a speed guy for them. They took a lot out of the defense. They were using guys that were probably out of place. And then Hassan Reddick was playing for a contract that he knew he wasn't getting. So, I mean, it depends on your mentality. I mean, anybody can, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But when you go away from what made you good, it's hard to recover that. And then
isn't that on the onus of the coach to get everybody back to get the ship righted?
But
like
at
a certain point, your voice got to mean something.
Yeah, but you know what?
I mean,
you just said the magic word. Sometimes people tune out your voice. You know what I'm saying? If you hear the same message, sometimes it doesn't register with certain guys because sometimes, like I was saying earlier, and I'm glad you're on, my brother, some people get in that mindset. There's winners and there's people here just collecting checks. You know what I'm saying?
Shit, when you making more than the coach, how much listening are you trying to do? Unless you buy into the system,
and that's
like
what
they
I'm
do in
saying.
KC.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying about tuning out. You ever see sports? Regardless of what sport we're talking about, football, baseball, basketball. You ever see when a coach gets fired? What did they always say? Or his message wasn't getting across. No, it's not that his message wasn't getting across. It's because you got people who tune out the message and they think they're bigger than the message. You know how many coaches get fired and you're like, why did he get fired? I mean, not understandable if you go in 1-15 and the year before you were 15-1. There's a reason for that. If you didn't lose any of the same talent you had the year before, that's telling me that you tuned out the coach's message. You can't honestly sit here and say Bill Belichick forgot how to coach. It's his message got tired after a while. You don't want to hear it anymore. And then sometimes a new voice can bring out something different that you might not have known. Or sometimes
then speak towards Mike. That's his Tylerson. Speak towards him because he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers for years.
You know what the reason why
they said he was on his way out.
Yep, but you know what it is. The reason why
made them sign him back.
Tomlin wins because you know why Tomlin wins? Because Tomlin puts fire under people.
Yes,
he doesn't care that you're the first round draft pick. Absolutely. He doesn't care how much money you made. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season because why? Because he knows how to coach. He knows when to push buttons.
Are we talking about coaching players or coaching people?
Coaching players.
Players. I can't. I mean, if Eric, if you're a star quarterback in the NFL and you're doing everything you're supposed to do, you can't win without your offensive line. You can't win without your receivers catching. You can't win without someone making a key block or run. But you are great individually. How many people have we seen that are great individually, but you say, oh, man, he puts up great numbers, but they don't win because people don't buy into what you're selling. Tomlin is a guy who understands people, and he understands that you ain't there for play. He'll get rid of you. He doesn't care how much money you look at the guys he's had that he's got rid of. He had Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Plaxico Burress. Those are great players, but they weren't doing what he asked them to do. And it doesn't matter that you're the best on the team. One guy, regardless if he's a quarterback, wide receiver, running back, can poison the rest of the team. And if I baby you or coddle you, what's good for the other 10 guys on the offense or the other 10 guys on the defense?
I think that's what we ran into last year. As far as
that's what it is. Philadelphia
we ran into that last year.
Philadelphia is, like I said, it takes a lot to go undefeated. People should get that out of their minds. 17 games out of 17-0. New England went 18-0, and they lost the Super Bowl. Why? Because it's pressure. Pressure breaks fights. It doesn't matter how exciting your offense is. Any given Sunday, you can be beat. Stupid things happen. New England lost
3 Super Bowls with Brady, 2 to the Giants and to the Seattle. I mean, not Seattle. Philadelphia. All weird plays. A helmet catching one of them. They could have lost to Seattle if Seattle was smart enough to hand the ball off first and goal from the 2-yard line with 2 timeouts in 20 seconds.
You know why Seattle didn't win. We
I'm just gonna say the game against Philly where Graham sacked Brady. I'm guaranteeing everybody in Philly when they got that ball back was in their throat because he has a history of coming back. And he has a history of pulling out games because why? He believes in the system. If you don't believe in something, it ain't gonna work. I don't give a damn if you're a luggage guy at the airport, or if you work at a tool store, or you work at a pharmacy. If you don't believe in what you do, it ain't gonna work. I don't care. I don't care who you are. How many times have we seen great players individually be great, and when it puts them to show, they can't make the other people around them great?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I seen that all the time.
I had an argument with a guy one time, and this is a different subject. I was in the market near my house, and we were talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about quarterbacks one day. And he saw that I had a Dolphin hat on. And he says, "Oh, you had Dan Marino. He didn't win no Super Bowls." And I told him, "You act like Dan Marino wasn't trying to win a Super Bowl. Dan Marino in his era was the best natural passer there ever was. Joe Montana
That's a true statement.
said it. What's the difference between them two guys of them winning the Super Bowl from
One had a great system, one didn't. One had a well put together team, one didn't.
Dan Marino had no defense.
Yeah.
San Francisco had a great defense. The year that Joe Montana won Super Bowls, San Francisco's defense was ferocious. He had Hall of Fame guys on his defense. He had a good offense. He had Jerry Rice. He had Roger Craig. He had great players around him. Dan Marino had Duper Clayton. Name who his running backs were. Who was the best running back Marino ever had?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Or was his only 1,000-yard running back? Who was the best running back he ever had?
I don't even know.
Good question.
Tony Nathan.
I say Bernie Parmalee was pretty good.
Yeah, he was a utility back, but I'm saying an actual back was Tony Nathan. He had Tony Nathan, Terry Kirby, Sammy Smith, Woody Bennett, Lorenzo Hampton, Troy Stratford, David Overstreet. I can go on and on. Those ain't household names.
That starts with the up top, right? That starts with the office guys.
But
They
you
know what
gotta
they're bringing in.
You know, but it's not so much the office guys. It's when you have a mentality of selfishness. The Dolphins got so content on throw that they neglected other spots. San Francisco, mind you, said, "Wait a minute. If we can run the ball and pound these guys, now we're going to open up everything else." They had Dwight Clark at tight end. They had John Taylor. They had Jerry Rice. They had Roger Craig. They had Tom Rathman. They had Brent Jones after Dwight Clark retired. So they had key guys. They had Ricky Waters.
Along with a handed down offense that's been passed down generation from generation to generation.
And the thing with them is their mentality never changed. Their mentality was, we're going to punch you in the mouth, we're going to knock you off the ball, what are you going to do about it?
And actually, that was the birth of the West Coast offense, if I'm correct.
Yep, with Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh said, we can't beat everybody throwing. We got to run the ball. If you watch San Francisco games back in the day,
Andy Reid running that, right? Isn't he running the same principles of that offense?
McDaniel?
No, Andy Reid.
Yeah, Andy Reid runs it because he's a disciple of it.
Man,
you got to remember when Andy Reid, John Gruden, they were all with Green Bay. Steve.
What was the Packers coach name? Heavyset guy, Mike Holmgren.
Yeah,
they were all under his staff, but
Ray Rose was even over there. I thought about that. Ray Rose.
Yeah, most of them look like walruses too. He looked like a walrus too.
Yep, Ray Rose was there from Philly. Yep, he was with Green Bay. But you know what that is? Those guys were all disciples of Walsh, and Walsh came in with that mindset. We got to knock you off the ball, and we're gonna see what you're gonna do about it.
Yep.
Everybody who's I tell these guys all the time. We're my friends. We argue about football all the time. If you throw every down, that's not good. That's not going to last. Know why it's not going to last? Because you're putting your quarterback in harm's way. Obviously, you're going to play in conditions where you can't throw every down. You're going to play in snow. You're going to play in bad weather. You're going to play in rain. But running the ball always is going to be there. You knock people off the ball. How many people in the tackle when it's cold outside? You knock
Well,
somebody
you
off
know,
the ball.
the NFL got a lot to do with that running the ball. They don't want to see slow games. They want the high numbers. They want the fans to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's about TV and money, and that's understandable.
Yeah.
But how many people want to tackle Derrick Henry on a cold day?
Shit, I don't want to tackle him on a hot day. So,
But just think about that. Hey, Tennessee.
That's a grown ass man right there. Like,
Oh my God, this is disgusting. I'm sorry, guys. I'm watching the game at the same time doing this.
what
And
game?
Well,
Ball-
I want to go over something real quick, because you talked about Marino had the offense but never a defense. When he did have a defense, he didn't have an offense.
That's what I had said.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember too, when Dan Marino's offense was great, Shula was selfish. Everything went on the offense. It was Dupa, Clayton, Nat Moore was still there. They had Dan Johnson at tight end. They were pass happy. When Marino got older, they had Jimmy Johnson came in. Jimmy Johnson
did a good job though.
No, he didn't. I'm gonna
You don't
explain
think
why
he did a good job?
I'm gonna explain why he didn't. Jimmy Johnson came to Miami with the Dallas Cowboys mentality. We're gonna run, but he didn't have Nate Newton. He didn't have Eric Williams. He didn't have that physical Dallas offensive line, and he didn't have Emmitt Smith in Miami.
Right.
Yeah,
Dallas had Michael Irvin. They had Emmitt Smith. They had Troy Aikman. We had an older Dan Marino, and our receivers were Tony Martin and Rondé Gadsden.
And at the same time, Jimmy Johnson came in with the attitude of it's my way or the highway.
Yep, and
That's how he got to Dallas though.
But you know what the difference with him in Dallas is? He had North Turner as his offensive coordinator, and he also had the backing of the owner for a little while. Jerry Jones really got jealous.
Yeah, it was what?
And he also had all those draft picks from Minnesota.
Yeah,
for the trade of Herschel Walker.
Yeah. But you know the funny thing about the Dolphins when Jimmy got there? He did the worst thing that could ever be done. He took Marino's play calling away. He said, check with me. No more you call your own play.
Yeah.
And then Marino had a rookie tailback, Abdul-Jabbar, behind him. With his defense was Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, Patrick Surtain, Sam Madison, Darryl Gardner, Tim Bowens. They had a great defense. But if you can't score, no matter how great your defense is. And then the one team that had a great defense that won the Super Bowl was the Baltimore Ravens when they had Trent Dilfer. But that defense.
I ain't knocking him.
And don't forget the 2002 Buccaneers.
Yeah, but you know.
With Brad Johnson.
Yeah, they knew all the Raiders plays. The former coach Gruden knew all their system, all their setups. So
he had a hand-me-down. That's not a fair.
John Gruden did not win that Super Bowl. It was Tony Dungy who.
I was about to say Tony Dungy won that Super Bowl.
Tony Dungy Super Bowl.
What?
Hey, fellas, I got a roll, man, but it was definitely good.
That was Tony Dungy's team.
Eric,
nice
seeing you, brother.
Nice talking to you, brother.
Same here. Nice talking to you, brother. Well, it's the same thing with Barry Switzer. Didn't win a Super Bowl.
Same shit.
Hey, I remember going to Philly with my boys from New Bedford, Mass. Dallas against Philly when Barry Switzer went for it 4th and 1 from his own 20 in Philly, and Philly stopped them, and that's how they ran out the clock. That place, my boys, all Cowboy fans, were going cuckoo. I mean cuckoo, and that was in the winter. It was cold in the old vet. And I'm not a fan of either team, but I went on my sister, rest her soul's behalf, because she was a big Cowboys fan. And Barry Switzer called a 4th and 1 with like 3 minutes to go in a close game rather than punt from his own 20, and they got stopped. And all I heard on the ride home from all my friends, Cowboy fans, screaming and hollering, and oh my God.
Well, not to cut you short there, but I know Saul's tired. I know
Oh,
I'm
that's
tired
cool.
from a long day.
Yeah, that's no problem, brother. I'm just happy and appreciative.
Russell, I could sit here and listen to you all night long.
And he will talk to you all night long if you allow him.
Russell got to come back. Russell got to come back because I want to ask him a couple questions, but not tonight. Maybe another night.
Well, you can ask me because you might as well ask me now, my brother, because I don't pop in much. I mean, I respect.
Russell only comes on when Dolphin Winners goes and visits him.
No, it's not that. It's like I don't like to infringe on people's shows because this is your show, and I respect the fact that you allow me the presence to be in your presence. So
I appreciate
you, Paul.
what you're saying, Russell, but it's not my show. It's not
our show.
Show.
Well, what
our show. It's the It's the Miami Dolphins show.
Well, I understand that, and if I misspoke, I'm sorry. I'm saying that I like I always tell people when it comes to the Dolphins, my mind is the Pacific, and there's not too many people who want to swim in the Pacific.
I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate that, but this show is for people like you. This show,
and I'm very appreciative that you allowed me to talk on the show because, like I said, there are a lot of issues that people just don't realize that sometimes have to be addressed. And I'm not for everybody, and I'm not trying to take away anybody's shine. I'm not here for clicks and follows. I don't care.
We're not here for clicks and follows.
No, and I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying
we want people to follow the show, but not us.
Definitely. I just say this: you guys are solid, man. I'm A+ in my book, and I love the fact that you guys have a forum where you can address certain things about the Dolphins, about the fans, about the whole setup. Because, like I said, I'm an old school cat. I know about the new stuff. I know about the old stuff. I know about the in-between stuff. And I respect the fact that you guys are doing what you're doing. Because, I mean, I get offers all the time to appear on people's stuff. I get offers to come on stuff. And it's not like I'm better than anybody because I'm far from it. I'm a humble dude. God Allah's blessed me to be in the position I'm at. And I respect Sheikh Money. I respect you, Papa Paul, everybody that comes on. Who's the gentleman that wanted to ask me something?
Mr. Polk.
Mr. Polk,
I say for another time because, like I said, everybody probably needs to.
Well, I can talk to you for a few minutes. It ain't nothing major. You can get your questions off.
Well, the thing that kind of bothers me is that we and maybe I'm wrong for saying it. People keep saying that okay, we're not we can't play in the wintertime, but yet with our 1972 Dolphins, we had to play in the wintertime and we won every game. So to me, and I don't like the idea of saying that we can't play and win in winter games. I think we can if we put our minds to it. If the coaches do their thing, the players do their thing, I think we can win in the winter time.
Hey, Mr. Pope, I got something for you. The 1972 Dolphins were 17-0, and the 16th game that we won was against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The AFC Championship was in Pittsburgh, in the cold, mind you. We had to play on the road as an undefeated AFC team because in those days, the schedule rotated, so you couldn't have back-to-back years as a home team. So we did win in the cold. I think winning games in the cold is all about mentality because we all grew up in parts of the country where it's cold or warm. You've played outside in the rain. You've played outside in the cold, and it's not like the team that plays in the cold. Yeah, they have a natural advantage if you're in Cleveland year-round and you play more winter games. But you're human. You play in the same conditions. Just it's a little different, but it's all about belief. If you believe it, you can achieve it. And
I agree with you, Russell. I was going to actually say it's more of a psychological thing.
Yeah, it's all mental.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I get
Hey,
tired.
you guys, listen to this. This one's going to be a cake topper for you. My uncle Clarence, one year the Dolphins were coming here, and I'm sure you guys remember this if you're Dolphin fans. The Dolphins came here late in the year. Jay Fiedler was a quarterback. Ricky Williams was the backfield. The game was for the AFC East title. It was the last game of the year, and Dolphins played in the cold. It was a 4:15 game. The Dolphins lost, and the fans were throwing up snow like fireworks. And the night before, the Dolphins came in on a Saturday, and I remember being home, and I saw the local news showing the Dolphins getting off the plane in Providence, and it was snowing like crazy. And I turned to my girl at the time, and I said, Dolphins are going to lose this game. Because I could tell how the shoulders were shrugged. Nobody had that confident look, and they got beat. They got shut out 11-0.
Mhm.
It was a 0-0 game. Jay Fiedler marched the Dolphins to the 3-yard line of the Patriots. I said, we're going to score. It was late in the game. He fumbled the snap and went all the way back to like the 40. And I said, we're done. And then the fans were throwing up the snow like fireworks, and they were going crazy. Brewski intercepted inside.
I remember that game.
Man.
Listen, I went to that hotel that night, the Saturday night, to bring my uncle food, and they were staying in Providence. And I walked around the hotel, and I was talking to him, and I was telling him, yo, you guys ready? You guys ready? And he was like, yeah, we're ready. And I said, no, I mean, are you ready? I don't want to hear the company line, we're ready. Are you guys ready? And I seen guys, oh, it's cold out here. It's cold out here. I said, you ain't ready.
No.
Because if you're worried about snow, you're worried about rain, you're not ready.
No.
And they weren't ready, and they got beat. And it was a 0-0 game in the third quarter. So, I mean, it's all about mentality. Anybody can be beaten on any given day.
Well,
Hey, you know what's funny? I used to hear this one all the time. Oh, you can't win in Miami. It's too hot. Well, Tennessee beat us in Miami. What's that mean?
Yeah. And you know what's funny is a couple of years ago, a few years ago when we beat Buffalo, or everybody was like, "Oh, they it was too hot. That's why we
It's
lost."
too hot.
Yeah,
it was
but
too
the
hot.
year before, in the same temperature and the same weather, they beat us 35 to I forgot. They handed us.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
They spanked
Hey,
him.
listen. I
Yeah,
remember all
in the
the
same
years.
weather.
I remember all my friends every year that the Dolphins played in New England in Miami and the Dolphins won. The excuse all the Patriot fans made up here is, "Oh, it's too hot."
Well, you know,
I seen New England, and I was at the game. I seen New England score 42 points and a half against us in the Heat in Miami.
yeah.
42-0 at the half.
But
With Randy Moss.
I also remember Miami and Dallas playing in Dallas on Thanksgiving when it
Yep, in the
was
snow.
snowing like crazy, and it became a slide fest.
Yep, and then
Because
Leon
there was-
blocked the field goal and he touched it, and then Stojanovich had another shot and we won it.
Yeah, and it was more of a
Actually, Steve DeBerg.
I thought it was
they
Doug
were
Peterson.
sliding. Yeah, they were sliding. They were
Because we
sliding
lost.
for
What's his
first
name?
down
Scott
more than they were running for.
He
They
took
were
over.
sliding for first
I
down more
remember
than
going
they
to
were
the
running
last
for
game
first
of the
down.
year. We
That
had a
game.
win. We were starting out 9-0. We lost 7 straight. So we ended 97 and make playoffs. After that game, we were 9-0. We lost 7 straight. And we lost the last game of the year in overtime. Drew Bledsoe threw the winning touchdown to Vincent Brisby. And we didn't make the playoffs. That place erupted. And they didn't make the playoffs, but they knocked us out. That was
But
ugly.
I remember that game just so vividly in my mind because it was, like I was saying, they were sliding more for first downs than they were running.
You know what the funny thing is? That was on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know. It was a Thanksgiving Day game.
And then my sister.
It was snowing in Dallas like it was
Yeah,
snowing.
the first
in Green
time
Bay.
in years they've ever Smith. My sister, who was a big Cowboys fan, was all over my case that whole week leading up to that game. And when the Dolphins beat them, oh my God. I remember when the Dolphins beat Dallas in Thanksgiving when Jason Taylor picked up a fumble and went like 78 yards and he did the Jordan logo dive into the end zone. The pose. And Chris Chambers scored 3 touchdowns.
I remember that too, yeah.
Yep. And the quarterback was Jay Fiedler.
I have a ball that's signed by Chris Chambers that I've had for years.
My sister, not my sister, my daughter, who's 27 now, we went to the camp. That was her favorite player. And he came over, was chatting with her. And I was on the field because my uncle was a coach.
Yeah.
And well, actually, my cousin Glenn. My uncle was already gone to Baltimore. And Chris Chambers was, wow, what a great person he was to my daughter. My daughter, I still got the Chris Chambers jersey in my closet that my daughter got. She never wore it, but she just wanted it because he was nice to her. So I bought it for her. She never wore it. Still got the tags on.
Well,
which is crazy.
Let's go around the room and give last thoughts so Saul can get some rest for his busy week.
Yeah.
He's got a busy week and a game to go see, and
yeah, we're gonna be at Fenway. We're gonna be at Fenway Park Friday night. Red Sox Yankees.
Definitely.
Okay.
Man, listen, y'all have a good night, and Ralph, once again, it's good seeing you, man, and hope to see you more often. So
yeah, man. Paul Shake Money and
Mr. Polk.
Mr. Polk, man, it was a pleasure talking with you guys, and I hope I can talk in the future to you guys, and I hope that what I said was informative, and I appreciate you guys, man. God bless.
We appreciate you, brother. We appreciate you. Shake, when's your next show?
Tomorrow. I'm interviewing Mercer Marino. Then after that it's a doubleheader. I'm doing Mercer Marino, and then Rafael Courtright is going to be in there.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So
well, peace.
Do your thing, brother. Do your thing, man.
Peace, love, fins up, Shake.
Peace, love, bro. You have a great night, man.
Mr. Polk.
I had plenty of fun. Paul, Dolphin Winters, everybody else that was on the panel that left. A lot of knowledge was passed around today. So again, my brother, please come back. Please come back again. So other than that, listen, Dolphin Winters, go get you some rest. Peace, love, fins up.
It was nice talking to you, my brother.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure talking to you.
Peace, love, fins up, Mr. Polk. You have a good night.
Have a great night, Mr. Polk.
Mr. Polk, peace, love, fins up, brother.
Everybody. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in this evening, and I want to thank my brother next to me, Russell, for joining us tonight. And I think everything has been said tonight, Papa Paul. I want to thank you with all the crazy stuff that you've been going through and everything for just continuing to be able to do what we do on a regular basis. And I'll be looking forward to seeing you next Wednesday because a brother's on vacation. So I'll be tuning in here and there Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, but I'm not going to promise anything.
I don't expect you to. You're on vacation, brother. Do what you got to do. Take care of yourself. Relax. Get some rest, much needed rest. Russell, I appreciate you so much, brother. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Oh, I'm accessible. Like I said, I don't duck from nobody. I don't hide. And
I know that, but
you're always welcome here, brother.
And I appreciate that.
It doesn't have to be this year. It could be 5 years, God willing. I'm still here, living. Obviously,
well, me and you both.
You always have a spot to come. I've invited others. Only Saul so far has taken me up on my offer.
As long as my wife, I'll be around for a while. As long as my wife keeps feeding me tequila, I'll be pickled pretty good to last a while.
Well, I don't know. Tequila can show on your planet time.
Y'all have a blessed night. Everyone have a blessed
Appreciate
night.
You, brother.
YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a blessed rest of the week and a blessed weekend. Peace, love, and fins up.
Peace, love, fins up, everybody. Have a good one.
Nice.